Hello, everybody. We're alive. We're
I can't
alive
believe.
again here today, and what's this? A little bit late, just a little.
A little?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Want you to know, guys, it took me an hour and a half. But we are having, I got a warning that we had a major solar flare, a very big one, which caused a big problem. So I'm going to slowly put the phone down because guess what? I had to use my phone. It won't even work on my computer.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will work, guys. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
Whew. But we're here now,
We're here now. What is everyone
and
thinking about Israel?
oh, yeah,
That's a big subject, but it's an important
it
one
is
because
important.
the heavens are listening, and Israel has been made a promise that no nation can go up against it in the last days. And hey, I'm all ready for the last days. Bring it on. I'm serious. If you're filled with hope, I want Jesus Christ to be my president. I
Yeah,
want him to govern the world.
I want him here. Yeah, and that's what he asked
So,
us to do. Like in the intercessory prayer, he comes in and says, "Thy kingdom come, thy will
thy
be
will
done
be done.
on earth as it is in heaven." And so he
So
wants
that could
us.
bring a lot of hope, right?
I think it does now. If at least is, but it doesn't change the fact how we'll see when we see that darkness. It's not going to feel good as we go through and see things
Well,
around
we're
us
already
that could be
seeing it.
horrible. Oh yeah,
If we're
it's sad.
truly already in the last days and the end times,
Hmm.
and Satan is doing all he can to go up against Christianity and the Jews and God's plan. I mean, is being so hit so hard. And it was interesting because I listened to a commentator today who was talking. Oh my goodness, I never realized how beautiful, Israel is this time of year in the spring. Is so gorgeous. It's just picturesque and incredible. And he was talking about what it was like to go through, all the drones and all the stuff that was going on.
The
He
300
lives in,
drones and
yeah,
missiles that came in on
yeah.
last night from Iran,
Yeah, it wasn't. Was it last night or the night before? It
Saturday
seems
night. So
like.
last night.
Oh, you're right.
Yep.
I guess that I haven't slept, so
Oh well, that's not good. I mean, it's not great.
it's funny. We're on such high alert that this Vietnamese guy was doing drugs in L.A. across the street from the Marriott, and all of a sudden, all these fire engines and SWAT teams after SWAT team, and I couldn't believe the amount of armed services that came onto the presence of one man
And he was just
who,
there.
he was doing drugs. His mom was living with him, and she called the cops and said he's got a gun in his room, and that's what brought that all on.
Wow.
And helicopters. My goodness, two major helicopters. So I thought, my word, isn't this a little bit over the top?
That, yeah, that seems a little over the top. I will say this, and let's go back a little bit. Let's tuk, tuk, tuk.
But,
When
I guess when I'm looking at
oh, sorry.
Jerusalem and I'm looking at the one guy, I think to myself, you know, reaction. How
Yeah,
should America react? We react so fully to one guy, and yet I want peace.
hmm,
Yet at the same time, I know that Israel has a right to defend itself.
that's true.
And Iran has been like a snake that's head needs to be cut off.
Yep.
Remember, nothing has really occurred in Iran, where Israel has been hit how many times? you know?
Yep.
So does it have a right to defend itself? Yes. Will Iran sit still? I don't think so.
Mm-mm. Well, they are afraid as well. They're not. If you look at it from their perspective and the things that were said at the UN by the UN representative that came in from Iran, said that
Right.
that yes, we are. This was warranted, but we consider the matter finished.
Well, sure they do.
Right. And so they see it as they need to have that one up and they need to get there and they need to have that response for the people and all of that. For the Jordanian people as well, they are in the streets.
Yeah,
That's
and
the country in
Saudi
between
Arabia.
Iran and
Yeah,
Israel. And so
and Yemen.
mhm.
You
And
know,
so yeah.
I don't know. I really think that we're just seeing the last pages turn,
Hmm.
and I think it's going to happen. And we need to stand for peace, and whatever that looks like in God's hands is in God's hands.
And if you read in the scriptures constantly, I hear this thing that God doesn't put out there things that are seem negative or like he does cause the angels to come down, the end time angels to come down and cause a lot of this frustration. He's pulled back his protection in many places in many ways, but there's real things that are caused because of these prophecies that have come, and he will accomplish the things that are within his plan. And Satan, he may think, or maybe he doesn't think, that he can interrupt God's plan, but in reality, was the plan all along for him for him to come in and do that, and that was God knew that was going to happen, and so it's
And
part of it.
the question I ask my audience out there, our audience, yours and mine,
Mm-hmm.
is, and all of you, because we're one big family right now on this podcast. And I want to ask you, coming from your point of view, where are you at? Because what I do know is that Israel's been hit, but I want you to understand that we can't give a mixed message. We can't go in and say, don't do it or else. We can't do that, or we're behind ironclad with Israel and then not back them up and then say, oh, well, that's nice, but, now let's back out. Or do we? And I guess I'm bringing this all up because my kids thought that I was being too involved. But if they understood what I saw when I died and how close Christ's return really is, we're there. And today I also saw something that was very fascinating. So, the big war that's supposed to be fought where?
Are you talking about Armageddon?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we keep trying to
The
figure
Valley
out,
of
well,
Decision.
how are the numbers going to be met in that battlefield with the amount of people on Earth? Today, I was looking at engineering, I think it was engineering innovation,
Mm-hmm.
if anyone wants to look that up. And they had rows and rows and rows of robots that were hyperactive and ready to go.
And that very well could be a part of it. I will say this, that the numbers can make sense even with the people that are there now, because you're not talking about just one country. You're talking about basically most of the world over
Right.
in that section, and even throughout the world are turning inward towards Israel. And the prophecies actually say that it's that way, that the world will basically be against it. And so,
well, and they were 90% truly have been against Israel. Look how quick things turned so quickly. You know, the world was supporting them the first couple of weeks, but boy, once the Palestinians started to put their media PR people into play, suddenly things started to change. And then 90% of the world was against their actions because of misinformation, because of wherever allegiance may fall, whatever you may believe about. But what's so fascinating to me is where we are at as a country and as a nation. And it was so fascinating to me to look at this thing in Los Angeles and how many people were on watching that versus what was happening in Israel. There were over 80,000 people watching that one incident. And why are we so drama hungry? Why are we so drama driven? What
everyone
brings
likes
us
a good
to
story.
that moment? You know, I'm trying to understand that. It's very puzzling to me. The human mind is very puzzling to me.
I mean, the way that we've always passed information throughout history is basically through stories, and those stories tend to ignite imagination, and those things can really bring in attention to things that are dramatic. Plus all of the media that we see constantly, right, that is very dramatic, that's not necessarily real, but it will show and bring you in a dramatic way. I did want to go ahead.
Well, you're right. I think part of it is we've never had media so present and so right at the moment, right there in the second.
News cycle's instant.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when I was in an apartment complex just south of here, brand new, beautiful place, there was a shooting happening right above me, just 3 floors up. And it's so interesting how my family deals with drama, because while cops were surrounding the whole building and shooting was happening from the roof, because the guy was outright shooting everything that was moving, my daughter went under the tape and walked right over to my apartment, and I let her in. But nobody knew about that till 6 hours later, because it was 6 hours holdup.
Yeah.
And, we weren't frightened. And we talked about that. What allows us that peace that we find in the midst of great trauma and drama? And I've been through a lot of drama.
Yeah.
And drama.
More
I'm
drama.
still going through it. My face.
Drama.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still healing. Thank goodness I see another doctor Tuesday. I'm hoping and praying it's not skin cancer.
We hope that too.
That's already been a big possibility by one doctor, so I was not a fan of his, so I'm seeing a real good dermatologist to find out.
Good.
But anyway, it's just always collectively in my life. And I think it's about balance. And whether
that was weird.
Yeah, I told you we're having solar flares.
Welcome back. Yeah. Continue.
And so we're going to get kicked in and out of this conversation. So in order to have that balance in our mind, we have to have an equal portion of hard work and happiness. They have to go together. My grandmother and my mother grew up on a farm where hard work was even on Sunday, because they didn't have a choice. They had animals that had to be fed, and you still have to keep continuing to feed the animals even on Sunday. So it was hard work from the moment you woke till when you went to bed.
Yeah.
Today, because of multimedia, because our jobs have been redefined, our work has been redefined, and all the innovation that has happened, even so much as now we've got Tesla cars and hybrid cars that can drive us to and fro. We have more time on our hands. And what are we doing with that time? If we are not doing the work that we're used to doing in full labor, I think we need to do that for each other. I think the greatest happiness comes in when we're serving each other. To me, this is my only way right now, is this podcast, is being a service to someone. And I want to say, hang on. The exciting news is coming. The gospel is good news.
It is.
That's what it means. Good news. And we're coming to it. And this should be the greatest celebration at the end of times, when time will not exist. And we'll finally be at a place of Christ coming and reigning as ruler of this world.
I'm
it's exciting.
Very much excited for that part of it. There is however long it is between now and that point is really what I care about, as far as, no, I care about the end. That's not my point. What I'm saying is,
well, what do you do?
We've got to focus. I focus in on what's directly in front of us, as far as what we need to see, and how we need to look for the signs and see what's coming, and not be completely taken off guard when things continually get worse, and the peace comes through the Savior and through that connection of Him. Because Satan is raging, and he is going into the hearts of man and really trying to and there's anger. There is real anger. And I'm not going to diminish the anger that is felt from the Palestinian side, but it's there from both sides in that war. But then you look at Sudan, which has had way more deaths. It's only been a year.
Oh,
and that is
my
horrible.
Lifetime. When I look at so when we think about that one prophecy that Christians will be martyred, right, and killed, do you know right now, presently, more Christians are killed than ever in the history of our world?
Numerically,
on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And women are being attacked. They're being punched in the streets of New York and Los Angeles. And, it's not even, 2 women were out, and I think where was it? Was it Orange County or LA? And both these women were beat to death almost. It's just sad.
Some say
San Diego.
that, these things always happen. These things were always part. But I'll say this: they absolutely have increased. If you look at 100 years ago, and what's happened since then, and you look at how the world has changed since that First World War, since the Civil War, essentially, really. But if we look at it, I wanted to back up a little earlier and talk about the eclipse.
Israel? The eclipse! So, I thought we talked about that last week, didn't we? Or did we?
We did. We talked about it a little bit last week, but we talked about it it hadn't happened yet. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit as a follow-up. Many people were saying that, the world didn't end, and some people were saying that the world would end that day, but it's not that. I didn't think it was never that way. Yeah, the way that it is that it's a marker. It's a marker.
That's right, a road sign. That's what Revelation is all about.
Yep.
Is revealing the signs and the posts and along the road.
Yep.
It just gives us direction. It doesn't say, "Here I am, blinking light." Because
what's the point of that? What's the point of, I'm here, and there he is, and it's the revelation is to have us be prepared and to give, because he loves us and he wants us to know kind of what's coming to a degree, at least to the point where we can be like, okay, this is something where I can know that God's hand is still in the world. He's still here with us.
You know what gave me chills is not only, well, I thought the eclipse was odd because the last time I had the eclipse, I was living down south and I ran out to see it. And I saw, all the different little suns all over the ground, shadowing the eclipse.
Yeah.
This time that didn't happen, which was odd to me. And I mean, I put on the glasses that my daughter had from the last eclipse, and I looked up at the sun through that, and I could see the eclipse, at 60%, but I was so strongly impressed that no matter where I looked, on the sidewalk or wherever, it wasn't there. What was that about?
How much of totality was it when it came through? It was more totality because it came across that west coast. Because once those beams really happen when it's almost completely covered. And so
I'm trying to remember. Last time it was not as much.
Right.
When it came through Utah. Remember that?
7 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, it came across the west coast.
You're out there listening. Chime in. Tell us.
In northern Utah, it came really close because it came across the west coast. Yeah.
Well, I was down south, so we didn't have it as full. I think it was only
been less at that point. Yeah.
A lot less. I think it was only 30% by the time I ran outside before it was over because I had forgotten. And my daughter called me and said, "Did you see it?" And I went, "Oh my gosh. What am I thinking?"
Yeah.
This is important. So I ran out and looked at the ground. And then I saw it everywhere, on the ground. But I didn't see it this time. And I thought that was odd. And I waited.
That is odd. Yeah, I only know what they say, as far as what the stuff I've read in journals and things, or science journals and stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, if it was.
Well, how did everyone else see it? Is anyone chiming in? I'd really love to know.
No one's chimed in yet. They're probably, sleeping because we took so long.
Or checked out.
Yeah. They've got things.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
If you're in our podcast, you'll get to listen to it because we'll post it. And my daughter's right. I'm not linking it properly on YouTube. I probably need to do that better. But we'll probably never be on time, no matter how many hours I prepared ahead this time. And, I'm really sorry. We try.
Yeah.
My gosh, I was in studio and backstage it kicked me out how many times?
3 or 4.
Yeah, and then I couldn't get in. I don't know how many minutes it took to get in.
And we ultimately just had to use your phone.
Speaking of happiness and life, here's one thing that we all should be prepared. Go back and get a landline because we are going to get hit probably. And we should have landlines to be able to call family members. I think that's critically important.
Yeah, either that or if you are within some range, getting some kind of radio that can contact each other.
Right.
There's things, satellite things.
But I'll just say somebody knew I had it and stole it, so I no longer have it. But I had a CB radio, and believe it or not, had it in a dream, as weird as this sounds. And not only did I have it in the dream, it told me exactly what to buy. I thought it was kind of hilarious when I woke up and I wrote it down and called the nearest, it wasn't a Radio Shack. It was kind of a, a place that sold CB radios in San
Okay.
Jose, California,
Okay.
and drove there, told the guy what I needed, and boom, it was on the shelf. And he said, "You're exactly right. How'd you know that? Are you into CB radios?" And I said, "No.
I saw it in a
You'll never
vision.
believe me.
Yeah.
You don't know my life."
No. And that's a true statement. I'll tell you that. So
Only those who have walked it with me know.
yeah,
It's
at
kind of
least
hilarious. And
at least the small amount I have. I mean, not that small, but yeah, I see
I
it.
love it because I get every day to make a choice to either better my life or life for someone else.
Yeah.
And I don't get enough opportunity anymore to do other people, getting that chance to serve other people. I mean, I do it quietly when people don't know, but real service, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense to me. I think the time in your life, it would have been just what's going on in your life. It's understandable completely. It's not
Yeah.
like you don't want to do it or that you choose not to. It's that things are happening that are causing it not to be exactly possible.
Possible. Yeah, I remember a time though that when I was doing it, even as a teenager, I never felt like I was doing enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That was
I
before you were a
never,
mom, but they call it mom guilt to a degree. That the inner monologue or dialogue that happens that you're like, I beat myself
right?
up. Yeah. I mean, I have that a little bit, but nothing like what I've seen with either my wife or my mom,
Women
brothers.
do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, maybe it's us. Maybe,
I wouldn't say
because
it's
we raise
a
children.
problem. You care. You love them. Yeah, I do think that that's a big part of it. Is that the children and you want what's best for them, and we all make mistakes, and it's
And
hard.
sometimes, the greatest happiness, honestly, is being a parent, as hard and as challenging as it is. And believe me, there were times I went, "This is hell, get me out of it." you know, Especially if they're rebellious teenagers and you're like,
Yeah,
when they're
my
young, it's
goodness.
labor intensive. When they're older, it's mentally and, intense
Yeah,
and
and
challenging.
yeah.
Um, and then when they're grown and then everything's your fault.
Well, I mean, Ranelle, isn't it?
Right. I mean, I'm just,
I'm really helpful here.
they don't understand when I say, yeah, I was the worst mother.
Oh my goodness, they should.
Then they get mad and you're not listening to me. I
Well, that
am
might be true.
listening,
You should be.
you know, but it's because they haven't followed the steps like my older son gets it, because he's got a teenage daughter now and he went through my grandson. But,
Yeah.
my younger kids haven't experienced that yet, but
Oh,
they'll get there.
it's so. It changes everything about how you see the world. I mean, everything, top to
Oh,
bottom.
but isn't it the greatest happiness?
No, it is. I make jokes, but
What? Wait,
yeah,
what?
no, it really is that.
What's
And
going on there, huh,
being
Mike? In
I
your
know,
home?
being a family. I mean, it's hard, right? But being a
It is
family,
very
having
hard.
five kids and a wonderful wife, um,
It's
I
humbling.
I'm grateful.
Let's get real. The way the world sees you and the way your family sees you. Holy cow! What a different world.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's with as hard as it is, you're right. The blessings that come from it and the joy that you have when, regardless of the choices they make all the time, there's
Keep it
pure
simple,
joy.
too. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
I look back and I wish I had kept things a little more simple.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, me and my wife are trying to, to. It was a lot different when we had one and two, but now that we have five, it's like there's more of them than there is of us, and there's a few of them that are pretty
And they get nuts.
self-opinionated, and they can go,
They gang up on you.
uh-huh, oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, they have these secret little conversations, mom this and mom that, you
Hmm.
know,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's so hilarious to me because dang it, they'll have those conversations when they have their kids.
Now I
That's
will
all I do.
say that sometimes my kids surprise me as far as is they team up in a positive way to help me and my
Oh, that's
wife.
cool.
Hmm. They're very, we try to do our best as parents, and I think they're doing a good job as children, but they're still children. They still are here and they make mistakes. So and
Well,
they
I'll tell you what, I enjoyed your family. As a counselor, I got an opportunity
yeah,
to have you all as a family. I hope your mom's okay with saying that.
yeah, totally.
But
She
all
would be.
your brothers, were there, and your mom and your dad. And I can't think of a more blessed time in my life than when I was serving your family.
Well, we greatly
What a
appreciate it. It
joy.
was a blessing. It was a blessed time for us as well. So as
Gosh,
a
it was
family.
great.
So I mean,
Um,
and that was before and right as that first eclipse happened, and a lot has
that's right.
changed since then, and it changed. That was a sign as well. I mean, these changes that happen, these shifts in the way that and God has given us warning after warning, and you can see it if you actually look back and actually look at these things and see what the prophets have to say about it and the prophets of old, and see all of that. You can actually pick out the signs to a degree. Now, I want to, preface that with we don't. I am not saying that we know exactly when, and he will be here. He will come back, but it's the stuff in between. That's what I was trying to say earlier. The stuff in between here and then that we need to keep an eye open for. And that one of those things was the shift in this world that has happened with all these signs in the sky, all these
And
signs
my
in the
thing is,
heavens.
is learn that balance. We really need to find that
That's true.
level in order for a certain hormone to work in our brain. And I heard this morning, so I thought it was really awesome because I had heard about this when I was living in California. I was living near UC Davis, and I heard about this research that in order for that hormone to ignite in your brain, there has to be an equal portion of work and joy
Hmm.
for that hormone, that pleasure hormone, to be ignited in your brain. Now here's the game kicker. So it's kind of like playing game on your Nintendo or wherever, your
Mm-hmm.
Game Boy, whatever. Is to remember that there is one booby trap, and that you can't seek out pleasure. Because if you seek out only pleasure, you'll not be able to ignite that hormone.
I think
Isn't
that,
that
yeah.
interesting?
Well, and that makes some sense.
So if you try to find some level playing field of knowing what's going to bring happiness to your life and what real happiness is, real happiness. There's a lot of wealthy people. In fact, I lost a very close friend that was extremely wealthy. Um, she started a very, very large multi-level marketing company, and yeah, she committed suicide, and
Mm.
um, she struggled with finding joy and finding happiness,
And I think we've
and
all
we all
seen,
do.
yeah, money, and I think that's a great thought because money doesn't
Yeah,
cause that.
yeah. So
Money,
we can't
money
work
can,
toward, yeah.
yeah. So
Money
our,
opens doors, but it doesn't exactly to a level find happiness. Does it make it easier to find happiness? Yes,
it can,
but
in
real
some,
happiness,
yeah.
real
I mean,
happiness has to be earned.
yeah, earned and yeah, earned.
Earned in that we're working hard in our daily lives to do the things we have to do to make it through our own physical well-being.
Yeah,
But then we also have to find those things that really bring true happiness, true service, true joy
Which,
on a weekly basis, not, you know, well, I'm going to take a vacation for
yeah,
2 weeks next year.
that you know what, I can have some pleasure and some joy in 2 years when I go on that vacation. You know,
Right?
that's when I'll be happy. We'll work towards that. It will never live up to the expectation ever. And so you're right. And so if we look at it and we are seeking out that pleasure, you're right. If we're seeking that out in and of itself, it's not going to find us. We have to look at it in a more holistic way. We need to go
Yeah.
after those things that we know are right to what our conscience and to what we believe God, and to be well-rounded that way. And if you can do that and find peace in those moments, joy will naturally be a part of your experience.
Well,
It's just
when I used to travel a lot in my speaking
mm-hmm,
career, and that's why I became a counselor, and a therapist, because I wanted to be home more.
yeah,
Plus, I like one-on-one a lot, because it really, you get this wonderful feeling with that connection with another human being
yeah,
and serving them individually.
yeah.
But what I loved the most was driving up and seeing my kids running out the door and utter joy, screaming, "Mom, Mom!" And then I get outside and they would tackle me on the lawn. I don't think there was anything more memorable than those moments.
And your youngest son, I'm sure he could tackle you pretty good. He's buff.
Yeah.
He's tall. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's hard, as you get older and you're a senior. I was thinking about that as I was getting ready. As you get older, it sucks. It really sucks. We're prejudiced against older people. We really
Yeah,
are.
I've seen some of that in very close reality. So
And I tell you, you get treated differently. Like somehow you're less than. Well, you've already had your share, or you've already done it, so it's our turn. Or
and
you're not.
there is a frustration with the older generation. If you look at it from a generational perspective, and you look at it from a younger people's perspective, they can look at the older generations and it can be frustrating because they can see mistakes that were made, but then they overcorrect and it becomes a whole pattern that continues with their children. And that's just part of it. A big part of it also is just, you're old, geezer, so get out of here. I want my turn. It's selfish. And there's a reason why God came out and said, honor thy father and thy mother. And
That their lives may be long upon the earth.
yes. And so that I would give a lot of things to have my father back. And
Yeah.
I personally never treated him in a way that was well, I'm his son, so it wasn't always all the time peaceful, but I treated him with respect, and he deserved that, at least from my perspective. And
I think all that's what was so wonderful about working with your family. Yeah, there were some, you know, glitches, that
yeah,
all families go through.
yep,
Really, it was about working with your family. It was about, being a little more in a team playing position of everyone working together.
yeah,
And that was fun.
and
That was a lot of fun.
being open, and
Yeah.
finding,
And being
trying to,
okay with being young again and being judged. So what?
yeah,
It's funny because my daughter got all dressed up to go exercise today. And I laughed and I said, you know what? What's wonderful about getting older is you don't care.
I
Check
can
yourself
attest to
the door.
that. Just with my level of age, I'm 40, so that feels old to me now, but I know that will be more so soon. So
Yeah, and
just
she's
never.
younger, so she thinks that, well, everybody judges me, she says.
Ah,
And she is beautiful. She's a beautiful young lady. And so people stare at her. And I laughed and I said, well, I get the staring part.
no,
That's
no,
not going to
I have no
change.
comment.
That's not going to change. People will stare,
Yeah.
you know. Like this guy right now that I see on YouTube, Mr. Lava Lava. Have you seen him?
No.
This big, black, beautiful man who's like, his physique is beautiful.
Hmm.
And he walks around Uganda without his shirt on.
Oh, well.
And how all these women and these men and older people turn around to stare at him.
We.
And that's all he does. And he's now become famous on TikTok and online, filming
That's funny.
himself walking through people and their stares.
It's funny. Yeah, I like it.
But you know what? There was a time when he was so skinny and so scrawny, and he was famous for breakdancing.
Ah.
But people didn't stare at him.
Mm.
And now he says it's a whole different world. It's very limiting. And people judge him so harshly.
Hmm.
Uganda is very humid, so I can understand that whole taking your shirt off. It's very hot in Africa and humid in Uganda. And so I get that. I think it's just hilarious though. Everyone in between wants to know what it is to be stared at. But those who are beautiful and those who aren't, like myself,
No.
get stared at. And there's this interesting place that I get with celebrities, and I have a lot of, for reasons that have nothing to do with me, I know a lot of famous people and wealthy people. And I never demand anything of them because I know the burden of what the world places on you when you're being stared at and you're being looked at. And trying to find that level place in your mind to work and find happiness and all that is a lot harder.
Yeah.
And so,
Well,
anyone can work, everyone works. But how you work and what you do and how you make your decisions in this life really add up in your older ages and really add up, really not even possibly in this life. You just have to hang in there and enjoy the journey.
as best you can, and sometimes it's just about surviving. And I think we all have felt that emotion. And you don't want to just go on always just surviving, but there's moments where you have to put your head down. You have to focus and you have to get to work, right? But don't forget to look up. Don't forget to do that. I mean, we have to give ourselves permission to let go sometimes.
For me, it's hard to let people in. And I like observing people. I love it. It's, when I was a kid, and this was so long ago when everybody knew everybody at the grocery store, and they would pile all the dog food up by the check stands. And, the ladies used to hand do all the items,
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
and
Yeah.
every check stand was open. I would sit on that pile of dog food and watch everybody. It was just the
You
greatest
were the
joy
one
of my life.
staring.
I was the one staring, you're right.
I will say, I get people to stare at me, but it's usually because of my antics. Look at me!
Well,
And my
kids call
misshapen
me
body, that happens too. So, what'd you say?
That's what my kids do to me now, I don't know what it is, but your own kids think there's some motive for your loving them.
Yeah.
But someone else loving them, oh my goodness, the world is right. But when it's mom or dad, there's some motive. Okay, what do you want, mom?
Yeah. What do you want?
What do you want, dad? You know?
I don't need a
Or
lecture,
we do it
Dad.
to our kids. Okay, how much do you want?
Yeah.
Why are you being nice to me?
Yeah, you better be. They should be nice to you anyway.
They should.
Yeah.
We all should, shouldn't we?
Shouldn't we? Yes, we should.
You
Kindness
know, I
is
was,
is so important in especially in our day and age because of the anger that is continuing to spread. I mean, you see it. You see it within our own country too. It's
oh boy,
you've
so
got
so changed here. It is,
yeah, you have got to
isn't it
look at
fascinating?
things, be able to look at things from other people's perspectives and care about people that have completely opposite opinions of you and be able to treat them with respect and whatnot.
Or whatever country you're from,
Yeah.
and appreciating the difference because, like it or not, 13 million people have crossed our borders, coming from all over the world, and so it changes every single city in this nation, whether we like it or not.
And even outside, like that would absolutely change things, not only demographics, but culturally, a lot of things.
Oh,
Um,
so much, especially culturally, because every country has different belief systems and different, cultural um, likes and dislikes, and what bonding looks like in different families in different cultures.
oh, you're absolutely right. The big thing that I see is that we have been played off of each other for so long in divisive ways
Uh-huh.
that we start to have started to believe the enemy within our country is such and such. And that has
Right.
caused so many problems between all of us because if you vote for somebody and you're treated horribly because of that, or you don't vote for somebody, same thing. This politics becoming something that is how we treat each other according to politics is such a low expectation of ourselves. It's so
I am amazed
childish.
how people hate each other
Yeah.
for how we vote. It used to be when I was growing up, my mother and father up in California, it was taught you don't talk about who you're going to vote for. Respect the other individual's
Yeah.
choice. Respect what they have to say. Freedom of speech. But we want to stop someone being able to speak out about what they think. Suddenly we don't like them because they think a little differently than we do.
Mm-hmm. And then the other side gets, you start, regardless of what side you're on or even whatever, it becomes, uh, you start reacting and getting angry with people because of what they say. And then it goes back and then it's just this cycle that's been so destructive for
Yeah, it's
our
kind of like
culture.
we believe that the people in Iran all are in support of the Ayatollah. We don't know that.
No, and we do know partly because we don't know everything, but they did have people marching in the streets as recent as a couple of years ago.
Hello,
And
how many were marching in the street for the Palestinians here
oh,
or for the
yeah,
Jews here?
yeah, that too. So I mean,
So we don't know.
there are
We,
plenty of people in those places that have separate beliefs. I was reading an article on the way that Mahizrim, the Arab Jews that exist and existed and have because they all because Jews were in every country. They were in all through the Arab world before the creation of Israel. And then things turned on them when that happened. And there is a lot of story that goes behind that, but then they were treated poorly in Israel too. So, I mean, it's been this thing in I think
Well, think
We
about
start to
it.
see each other as enemies.
And in 70 years ago, Israel was established.
Mm-hmm.
And look how much has happened in 70 years. I wasn't around, but 70 years compared to 1,000, think about how much has changed in 70 years.
Yeah.
World War II. And what happened to the Jews during World War II?
Yeah, 6 million. And then 21 million total. That's just in the World War
insane.
itself. Yeah.
And then we tell them they don't have a right to exist.
Well, some do, or exist on that land. That's what they're saying.
Whether we like it or not, if you're Muslim, you believe in the Old Testament. Israel belonged to Israel and belonged to the Jews. I'm sorry.
Well, I just think it's more complicated. A lot more complicated.
Is it? Is it really, though? I mean...
No, it is. Because...
that country, really, when you look at it...
Well, then let's give it back to the American Indians.
Right?
That's what you want to call them. So,
okay, there we go. So we have to coexist, whether we like it or not, as human beings, as family members, as brothers and sisters, as friends. We have to coexist and love each other. The only way that we can understand others' differences is through service. It really is. When you're serving someone else, whether it's another culture or another political belief, you begin to understand someone else's heart a different way when you get a little closer.
And opening your own heart in the process. Because really we need to be able to see each other as much more than the country we're from, or the skin that we have, or from any other reason. We existed way before we got these bodies and came to this earth.
Or the face that has every part of this body on it.
Yeah.
I always tell everybody, if you look at me, you're seeing the whole of me just on my face.
I pulled skin from all over the place.
Yeah, from every part of my body was put right here. So you're seeing the whole of me.
There it is. It's right there.
But right now, I'm still healing. I'm still going through whatever this is with all these sores, and it's so painful.
Yeah.
And we all have our trials, but it's just, having some understanding, a level of patience and kindness.
Yes.
Simple kindness, taking somebody's cart at the grocery store, simple things. You'll find satisfaction in doing little things. It's not big. It's like we're looking for big signs, God doesn't work that way. He's literal and he's figurative, but he also doesn't put big flashing signals.
Oh, yeah. He works through small and simple means, and most of the time it's just direct inspiration and revelation to individuals. That's the most common way that he interacts with the world.
And if we're pushing something, then we're pushing our own agenda. I sat next to, I don't want to get into it because it's too dark for me, but there was this couple who ended up doing some horrific things, and they're both in jail right now. And the trial's going on this week. I ended up sitting next to the woman, and the man who did the presentation was in front of me. And, in that moment, because of my experience, just because I died and came back, I could feel things a little differently and feel more. I knew what was going to happen, and I knew the clash of horrific things were about to happen. And no matter what I would have done, it wouldn't have changed the outcome. Would it have?
Likely
would it
not.
have?
No.
Probably not. Because of their warped belief system, I hear people say, well, it was their religion. No, it was not.
No.
It doesn't matter what religion you are. If you put your own agenda in there, you'll do some horrific things to get your way, to get your need met.
Yeah.
If you're
Now,
putting your own needs in front of it,
yeah.
you know?
And if you're, as we, sometimes there are things that you can work for and have an agenda that's in a positive way, as far as like when you're doing things like serve a mission, for instance. That's, you have an agenda, you have something that you're there to do, but it matters your frame of mind as you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. It's really about, you know, I don't know. I just, like I said, I live every day to find that level of balance in my life.
Yeah.
And now I wish I had had this wisdom and this understanding that my brain's hormones were dependent on that.
I'm going to have to read that study. It's very interesting.
That level playing field of hard work and happiness, you know, and finding that equally yoked, not pushing anything one way or another.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But going only under the holy inspiration of God, quietly and privately through prayer. I think we talked about this, how prayer affects other people when you actually pray, how it really does affect the person in the next room, whether you know it or not. I wanted to write a book on it, and I never did, but the studies of what prayer does for people is phenomenal. I mean, they've taken a scientific proof of what prayer can do for somebody who's being prayed for.
That's the power of intention that, you know, when God
is put in the middle of it.
Exactly.
So anyway, speaking of in the middle of it, this week is going to be fun. I hope that everybody enjoyed this podcast. I want to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
Put what you do for fun down below.
Ooh,
we want to know.
That.
What do you do for fun? I want to know.
Me? Or them?
Yeah.
All of the people. Everybody. No,
Everybody.
what I do for fun, you know, you may not be all... I like to sometimes play video games.
Well, that's okay. I know some of the wealthiest people in the world play video games. Oh, well. I watch YouTube.
Jessica says, listen to NDE stories.
Oh, yeah. True.
Perfect.
You know, read. Some people, love to garden. I want to hear it, though. I want to hear what you do that you find joy in and what you do for fun. I really do. I want to hear it.
Quality time with the family, too.
Let's share.
Yeah, share. And put it in the comments, not just here, but tell us what you do. And then tell us, you know, how you feel about these other things that we've talked about today.
Yeah, really want to know what you feel about that whole idea of the mind and the mind needing to have peace and that level playing field.
Yeah, absolutely. And then anything that happened with your experience with the eclipse or with your feelings on what's going on in Israel, which is, there's so much things that can be.
Or what miracle did you have this week? I want to know that too.
That I like.
I like that a lot. I want to hear that.
Yes, travel. Fran says travel.
Oh, travel. I want to hear about that. Yeah. That's fun. Exploring. Because traveling is really about exploring, isn't it?
Yeah.
New place, new
that people. And getting away. Let's get out of here, guys.
I used to do that all the time with my kids. Get the motorhome packed. We're leaving after work.
We are done here.
We're shooting out. I did it every weekend. And we traveled with my kids all over the place.
That would be
back
way too
when
much
gasoline
for me.
was cheap.
I'm a homebody. I like to be here. I like to be with my family, and I like to sit and I like to read and be informed, but getting out I just did it so much as a young person that I'm just,
I still like to get out. Are you kidding?
You do. I've seen it.
I'm sorry. I still love to travel, and I'm like, was it Fran who said that?
Fran did, yes.
Yeah,
and
Fran, I'm
new
like
places.
you, girl.
Yeah.
See new places. Go to the forest, go up to a lake, go to a river, go to a beach.
Camping is good
right
too.
now. My focus is beach and Disneyland.
My wife loves Disneyland. Loves Disneyland.
Love Disneyland.
Probably way too much for an adult. Disneyland. But she loves it.
I used to go every month when I was a kid because I lived in California, and getting a year pass was cheap.
That's true. It was just so much walking. My feet, they
hurt. If you go every week, then you take Adventureland or you take Fantasyland, or then you break it all
one day. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You don't.
Oh,
or you go sit on Main Street.
Jessica says, Ranelle, did you see what life was like on worlds we incarnate on after Earth?
Absolutely.
Are worlds more peaceful as we progress?
This is the most contentious world there is in all the incarnations. This one on Earth, though, is the one that gives you the fast track to your spiritual growth. And so, believe it or not, yes, other worlds that are in other interstellar universes at different times all have families. They all have a different idea of what work looks like, different culture, different atmosphere, different, shape of a planet and what it's like, things that they have to look out for and so on and be aware of. And so they go through everything we do. But the difference is the contention isn't there like it is here.
Yeah.
But it's also, they hear rumors about an Earth that is us, and they want what we have, which they hear about this fast track, of understanding eternal life on a very eternal perspective very quickly. And I think that I feel very blessed to be here in this moment, in this time, and these events. I'm very grateful that I chose to come back. I had that, believe it or not, I had that talk with my son, the one who talked me into coming back.
Yep.
We had that talk this week. I blamed him for coming back. He blamed me for being here.
That's a little different than the conversation I was thinking about. I was thinking, oh, we're so happy. It's so wonderful.
Oh, heavens, no. I said, it's your fault. I'm here. Because he said, Mom, your life could be so much easier if you did this and this and this. And I said, I didn't want to come back to this and this and this. I'm here because of you. It's your fault. You talked me into this.
That's funny. Yeah, she finishes that statement with the violence and bloodshed in this world is too much. And then, is there less deception on those other worlds?
Was there deception?
Less deception.
Yes.
I think the big difference is the adversary is...
very different.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is here. It's so much more.
Do you know why? You know what it was?
I have my opinions and thoughts and things I've read.
I know.
Yeah.
And when I say it, you'll go, oh, absolutely. When I say it, he had a need to be right. He had this great desire and need to be right.
And we all feel that. We all can feel that feeling sometimes.
Isn't that true?
A lot of times what causes contention between the ones that we love and the ones that are around us, because we all have contention. It can come, sometimes. And so
because we got to be right. We'll even lie to be right. Right? We'll tell ourselves lies to be
Yes.
okay.
Okay. Yes, we will lie to ourselves, and some people will completely lie. I just don't want to put that in a general statement as everyone will just lie because they want to be right. But yeah, lie. We all lie to ourselves because we have this perception, right?
So much so that I want to ask you guys, how well do you trust? I know I struggle with trust in a big way, not a little way. That's one of my faux pas, is I have been taken advantage of because I'm so naive, and I really am naive. So I fight that between naive and trusting too much, forgiving too easily. As my dad said, I can forgive that quick.
Which I
And
think
that's
is
my,
a good thing.
and a bad thing,
Yeah, in a
right?
practical way, it's difficult when you're trying to protect yourself. But should we need to protect ourselves? No, but yet we're in this world.
Well, that's why I took up doing what I did with your family, because it's really about that trust factor, overcoming and needing to be that kid again and not caring what anyone else thinks and being that buddy, love you, bro, love you, sis,
Mm-hmm.
and have that family cohesiveness again. You're going to have fights, you're going to have disagreements, and you're going to have likes and dislikes, but your family,
Yeah.
your family. And there's something so special about that. And when we start including this interstellar family of God, beyond even our own borders here,
On Earth, you mean?
your own planet,
Yeah.
and beyond, it's really cool.
And you look at the people around you, stranger or not. You
How
know
much we
that.
have in common more
Yeah.
than what we don't have in common.
We relate. We're related. We call each other. We're brothers and sisters. It's real.
Hey,
We
bro.
existed
Yeah, me
together.
too. Yep. How
So
many,
who
how
they
many of us chose
were.
to be together?
Mhm.
Why did we choose our brothers and sisters, our moms and dads? This is what I think about all the time.
Hmm.
All the time. I think about the relationships, and I think about what I say because I know the other thing that I want to talk about next week is the power of the word. Because
Ah.
when I was there, I learned how powerful the word is. Every word we speak out of the utterance of our mouth has great power. Power.
Yeah. I think we've all felt it in positive and negative ways in our lives.
Absolutely. And so it's going to be fun next week
That'll be
because
fun.
we're going to touch on freedom of speech, the power of the word, what we can say, what we should say, what we shouldn't say, and what we do in our daily lives with the word. Are we being a man of our word or a woman of our
Ah.
word? Aha.
That's
That'll be interesting.
that will be
It'll be
interesting.
fun.
That will be fun.
So
Okay,
tell your
everybody.
family and friends, like and subscribe,
Yes,
bro.
like and subscribe. And Jessica, you're right. As a last point, the world can really suck, and the earth is full of confusion and deception, and things along that in that nature. And so I think we.
But you know what, Jessica? I'm so glad you chose to be with us tonight and you
Yes.
came at this time, at this moment, for such a time as this. How exciting.
Yeah.
How exciting it is to have you in my life.
Agreed.
Thank you. So
That's
it doesn't
awesome.
suck because you're here.
That you're right. There is good, but there's just those moments we have to recognize and say that does suck. Like being older, that
It's
sucks.
okay.
Yeah,
That sucks.
it
But you
does.
know what? I don't have to, I can have these sores and not have to put cakes of makeup on
That's true.
to do this show.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that,
Me
I've
too.
learned something along the way of losing so much. I've gained so much. Does
It's
it
an
suck? Oh,
interesting dichotomy.
I've been rich and I've been homeless, guys.
Oh, Jessica has one more question, if that's okay.
Okay, one more. I'm
She says,
hurting.
"Can I ask an unrelated question?" So yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Oh, my dog is. Come here. He's wanting to go outside. Hold on.
A little soft dog.
Here, look. Look. See? We're right there. Yes.
Hi, puppy. Thing's cute.
So what did she say?
She's writing it out right now.
Yes, I know you want to go out. I know.
Just go. Just go. Okay, so here we go. Did you eat anything when you were in heaven, Ranelle? Or did you see any food or anyone eating food? I've always wondered about this.
Yeah, that is truth. And it's a different, we'll talk about that next week because I really want to talk about that. I'm a food lover.
Yeah.
Big time. In fact, I got my scholarship in culinary arts. Oh. And I moved to Napa Valley for that very reason, because there were so many wonderful culinary schools in Napa Valley, and I took classes there. So food means everything to me, Jessica. I have an answer for that, but I hope you'll let me think about the exact words that I want to say.
Powerful. And she says she can't wait because she's a foodie too. So.
Oh, how exciting.
You all have a wonderful, wonderful week. And she wants to also have an episode about heavenly cuisine.
Yes, heavenly cuisine. That's exactly right.
I like it. Okay, well, we will see you all on the other side. Much love.
On the other side of next week, guys, like and subscribe and bring your family and friends. Tell them about the word. Because I want to know what other people's thoughts are. And if we don't have an audience, we won't get a chance to hear what you think.
That's true.
So, and what your word is. So please tell your family and friends, like and subscribe, please. Before you close out, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Good night, everybody.
Good night.